They always say every workplace has that one boss, the one who walks like he's in a silent movie, speaks like he's auditioning for Shakespeare, and handles authority like it's a hot potato he's not quite sure he wants to touch. For us, that was Mr. Alan Reese, our department head. Now don't get me wrong, Mr. Reese was a decent man. Smart, punctual, polite to a fault. But if politeness were a superpower, he'd be walking around in a cape and tights. The man couldn't make a single move without asking for permission, often from people lower in the chain than him. "Olivia, would it be alright if I reviewed your draft presentation sometime this week? Excuse me, do you mind if I borrow a pen, just for a moment? Would you be comfortable if I sat here at the end of the table?" He asked me if he could sit in a meeting he was leading. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I'm Olivia Tran, 29, and I've been working at Horizon Tech for a little over 2 years now. I'm a marketing coordinator, which is a fancy way of saying I do a lot of PowerPoint, pitch decks, and calming down panicked salespeople who forgot their demo slides. Our office vibe is a weird blend of ping-pong table startup energy and old-school hierarchy, where you're encouraged to speak your mind, but only after it's been approved by someone in a tailored suit. The tension between casual and corporate was always buzzing in the background, just like Mr. Reese's awkward formalities. So when the product launch finally wrapped one Friday afternoon, and everyone was exhaling like they'd been holding their breath for weeks, I thought it might be fun to share a little laugh. That was the day I made the meme. It wasn't even meant for wide circulation. During the wrap-up meeting, I snapped a photo of Mr. Reese standing at the edge of the room, hands clasped behind his back, literally leaning forward as if silently pleading to speak. The posture was so respectful it almost looked painful. I added a caption. "Boss energy, may I breathe now?" And sent it to my little team group chat, just me, Jordan from design, Lexi from social media, and Maya, our newest intern. The kind of space where we shared cat gifs, frustrated rants, and the occasional meme to keep each other sane. We laughed hard. Jordan wrote, "This is so him face with tears of joy." Lexi added, "I'm crying. Why is this so accurate?" Even Maya, sweet and timid Maya, replied, "Can I post this on the private meme channel?" It's gold. Now, the hashtag meme cave was technically just a Slack space where staff shared harmless office jokes. It wasn't monitored, and people posted all sorts of things there, doodles, coffee machine complaints, reaction gifs to bad project briefs. Still, something in me hesitated. "It's fine," I typed back after a beat. "Just, don't let it get out." Famous last words. By Monday morning, I walked into the office and saw my meme printed out and pinned to the corkboard above the break room coffee machine, with a dozen handwritten notes around it. "Too real skull. Permission granted. Classic Reese." That's when I felt my stomach drop. It had gone viral. Inside our office walls, and from the buzz I was hearing, maybe even beyond. And I had no idea how Mr. Reese would take it. By 9:05 a.m., I was already regretting everything. I walked into the break room hoping to grab a quick coffee and quietly gauge whether anyone knew I was behind the meme. No such luck. The meme had turned into a whole shrine. Someone had even added fake speech bubbles around Mr. Reese's photo. "Excuse me, microwave, may I reheat my leftovers? Printer, may I humbly request 2-sided copies?" Lexi spotted me from the doorway. "Olivia," she whispered, barely containing her laughter, "this is a movement. You started a movement." I didn't feel powerful. I felt nauseous. There was a part of me, the reckless, giggling part, that found it hilarious. But another part of me, the professional part that had worked late nights on campaigns and dealt with back-to-back client calls, was screaming inside, "What if he finds out it was me?" I headed back to my desk with my coffee and a racing heart. Maya messaged me on Slack. Maya_intern, just saw the printer is out of paper and someone taped the meme on top of it. Grinning face with sweat. Me, oh god. Maya_intern, also. I think Mr. Reese saw it. That last message hit me like a cold gust of wind. I glanced across the office. Mr. Reese's door was slightly ajar. He was at his desk, staring blankly at his screen, unmoving. No coffee in hand. No polite strolls to the break room. No, may I interrupt? I sank lower into my chair. I told myself maybe he hadn't put it together, maybe he hadn't seen the meme at all. Maybe someone just told him about it and he was processing. Or maybe he was just having a slow Monday morning like the rest of us. But I knew better. At 10:14 a.m., I received a calendar invite. Subject, brief chat. From Alan Reese. Time, 10:30 a.m. Location, conference room B. I stared at it for a full minute. Brief chat. That was Reese code for something serious. The man never abbreviated anything unless he was trying not to alarm someone. Lexi noticed me staring. Is that from him? I nodded. You want me to fake a fire drill? I cracked a nervous smile, but inside, I was scrambling. Should I deny it? Own it? Blame the Slack channel? Could I say it was Maya's idea? No, absolutely not. Maya was just an intern, and honestly, she'd already apologized twice in DMs even though she hadn't done anything wrong. At 10:28 a.m., I slowly made my way to conference room B, palms sweating. The door was already open. Mr. Reese stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out toward the skyline. He turned when he heard me enter. Olivia, he said softly. Thanks for coming. Would you mind closing the door? Here we go. I nodded and shut it behind me, then sat opposite him at the small round table. He didn't sit down. He paced. Slowly. I'd like to ask you something, he began, voice gentle but firm. But only if you're comfortable answering. I nodded again, throat tight. Did you create the image that's currently circulating across our Slack channels and, apparently, the break room bulletin board? I hesitated, but lying felt worse than admitting it. Yes. Silence. He didn't look angry. He looked thoughtful. Hurt, maybe? Or maybe I was projecting. I see. He finally sat down, folding his hands. May I ask what inspired it? I meant it as a joke, I said quietly. You're always so polite, and we all notice it, but not in a bad way. It wasn't meant to make fun of you, Mr. Reese. Honestly. He gave a small nod. I understand. I imagine it was funny. I even laughed when I first saw it. I blinked. You did? Oh, yes. The caption was clever, he said with a small smile. But what concerns me is how quickly it spread, and how it made its way outside my team's control. I've already received 2 emails from other departments asking if they can put it on mugs. Mugs, Olivia. I covered my mouth, mortified. But the reason I wanted to speak with you, he continued, is because I don't want this to create an environment where people feel ridiculed for who they are, no matter how odd or formal their habits may seem. I felt my chest tighten. I'm so sorry. I'll take it down. I'll tell everyone it wasn't appropriate. I appreciate that, he said, nodding. But may I suggest something else? I looked up. He slid a file across the table. Inside was a proposal. A full internal campaign called Permission Culture, using the meme as a launch point to spark conversation about workplace respect, boundaries, and communication styles. I thought we could turn this into something positive, he said. With your help, of course. That is, if you're willing. I stared at him in disbelief. And for the first time in my life, I asked my boss for permission. May I say, that's brilliant? He smiled. Permission granted. I walked out of conference room B that day feeling like I'd just stepped out of an alternate reality. Instead of being reprimanded, fired, or even just scolded, I was being invited to co-lead a campaign, one based on a meme I had made, of my boss. That level of grace? I didn't know how to process it. Back at my desk, I opened the file he had given me. Inside were pages of ideas, rough outlines, and a title in bold. Permission Culture, Rethinking Respect in the Modern Workplace. The concept was simple but powerful. Mr. Reese wanted to use the attention generated by the meme to spark a broader dialogue. Instead of focusing on the embarrassment of being the office's accidental viral star, he saw an opportunity to highlight different communication styles and encourage mutual understanding among teams. It was surprisingly forward-thinking. I'd underestimated him. That evening, I stayed late voluntarily, something I hadn't done in months without a deadline breathing down my neck. I drafted content pillars, brainstormed visual designs, and even reworked the meme into a polished graphic. It wasn't self-deprecating anymore, it was insightful. It included a quote from Reese himself. "Respect isn't weakness. It's leadership that listens first." By Monday, the campaign was ready to soft launch internally. Lexi helped me design the digital bulletin board graphics. Jordan added animations for the internal Slack banners. Maya coordinated a short survey for employees to reflect on how they prefer to give and receive feedback, permission versus directness, formality versus spontaneity. And Mr. Reese? He recorded a short, candid video titled, "Why I Ask Permission, and Why That's Okay." In the clip, he spoke honestly about growing up in a family where speaking up was discouraged. How, as a new manager in his early career, he had witnessed toxic power dynamics that crushed junior employees' confidence. How his habit of asking permission wasn't weakness, it was intention. "I ask not because I doubt my authority," he said, "but because I value yours." That one sentence changed how people viewed him overnight. The reaction was unexpected, even overwhelming. People began opening up in return. Nina from accounting confessed in a team message that she had always admired Mr. Reese's calmness and had modeled her own leadership after him. Derek from product design admitted he'd felt guilty about laughing at the meme, and thanked Reese for handling it with such maturity. Even the CEO shared the campaign with a note. A refreshing reminder that culture isn't just about ping-pong tables and cold brew, it's about empathy. Suddenly, Mr. Reese wasn't just the awkwardly polite boss. He was something of a legend. And me? I went from meme criminal to culture campaign co-lead. But the best part came later that week, during our department's Thursday stand-up meeting. Mr. Reese arrived, as always, precisely on time. Everyone quieted. Then, instead of his usual formal tone, he stood in front of the whiteboard, smiled, and asked, "May I tell a joke?" We all burst into laughter. The ice was broken, permanently. Later, as people filtered out of the room, he pulled me aside. "Olivia," he said gently, "I hope you don't think I'm letting you off the hook completely." I did lose a bit of sleep wondering what people were laughing at behind my back. I winced, apologetic. "I really am sorry, sir. I should have thought it through." He gave a small smile. "You should have. But you also turned it around. That's leadership." I didn't know what to say to that. Just when I thought the roller coaster had evened out, HR sent me an email the following morning. Subject: Internal Communication Opportunity, Let's Chat. Apparently, someone from upper management had noticed the campaign's traction. They were considering expanding it to the company's other offices, and they wanted me to help lead that effort. I stared at my screen. One meme. One moment of bad judgment. And now I was being asked to join the internal comms innovation team. All I could think was, may I scream now? If someone had told me a month ago that a joke would change my career path, I would have laughed them out of the room. And yet, here I was, sitting in a conference room downtown, waiting to pitch an internal communication initiative to the senior leadership team of Horizon Tech. And it all started with a meme. The new campaign had taken off faster than any of us expected. HR, surprisingly, had become our biggest ally. They saw potential in permission culture not just as a lighthearted morale booster, but as a conversation starter across departments and regions, from the Seattle headquarters to our European branches. Suddenly, I was having Zoom calls with directors from Berlin, Buenos Aires, and Singapore. People were curious. They weren't laughing at Mr. Reese anymore, they were inspired by him. By how he'd turned an awkward quirk into a brand of leadership that didn't bark orders, but built trust. But success brings shadows, too. As the face of the campaign alongside Mr. Reese, I found myself under more scrutiny than ever. Some coworkers, especially those who'd never cared for office fun, began whispering. "I don't get why she's being praised. She made fun of him, didn't she? Must be nice getting promoted for breaking the rules." One afternoon, I overheard two senior analysts near the break room mutter something about meme girls and popularity contests. It stung more than I wanted to admit. I tried to shrug it off. But that old voice, the one that had followed me since high school, started whispering again, "You're not supposed to be here. You're just lucky. Don't get too comfortable." I kept showing up anyway. And Mr. Reese noticed. One Thursday after a strategy meeting, he asked me to stay back. "You've been quieter lately," he said gently. "Everything all right?" I hesitated. Then I told him the truth, not everything, but enough. That the praise sometimes felt double-edged. That I worried people didn't see my effort, only my mistake-turned spotlight. That I felt a little exposed. He listened, nodding. Then he said something I'll never forget. When I was first promoted, I overheard someone call me the velvet doormat. I carried that for months. Until someone else called me the only leader who ever made them feel safe to speak up. That's when I realized. If you're doing anything worth doing, you will always be misunderstood by some. He paused. And Olivia, you're doing something worth doing. I blinked hard to keep my eyes dry. That weekend, I took time to reset. I turned off Slack. I walked the lakeside trails. I wrote down every lesson this strange whirlwind had taught me, about leadership, empathy, growth, and especially about owning your mistakes with grace. By Monday, I was ready. On Tuesday, the company held its quarterly town hall. The theme? Culture that listens. And they asked me and Mr. Reese to present the final version of the Permission Culture campaign. Standing on stage, I looked out at hundreds of employees, some smiling, some curious, a few probably still skeptical. And I told them the full story. I didn't sugarcoat it. I admitted I made the meme. I admitted it wasn't smart. But I also told them what I had learned. About how easy it is to mistake kindness for weakness, and how real change can start with a laugh, if you're willing to own what comes next. When I finished, the room clapped. But it was what came after that stayed with me most. A young developer I barely knew approached me during the break. She looked nervous. Then she said, "Thank you. I'm quiet, too. I always felt like I had to be louder to be respected. But you and Mr. Reese showed me I can be myself. That means more than you know." That night, back at my desk, I opened a fresh note and wrote. Respect isn't just about asking permission, it's about creating space for others to say yes or no. I wasn't just a coordinator anymore. I was becoming someone who helped shape what this place could feel like. 2 months after the meme first lit up our Slack channels, the echoes of that moment still hadn't faded, but they had transformed. What started as an embarrassing lapse in judgment had evolved into something bigger. Not just a company-wide campaign. Not just a clever rebranding of leadership style. It had become a lens through which we all began to look at each other differently, with more patience, more curiosity, and yes, more respect. I was no longer the girl who made the meme. I was now Olivia Tran, communications strategist. That was my new title. Officially announced during last week's All Hands, with a warm congratulatory message from both the CEO and Mr. Reese. I was stunned. It felt surreal. After the town hall presentation, we had launched the Permission Culture Toolkit, a digital playbook for teams around the globe on how to navigate workplace communication with empathy and intentionality. The toolkit included Templates for feedback requests that respected tone and timing. A guide to communication styles, assertive, reflective, collaborative. And a reflection worksheet titled, "When do you ask permission?" To our surprise, hundreds of employees filled it out. People shared stories. One manager talked about growing up in a military family and how that shaped his tone. Another junior employee confessed she often stayed quiet because she didn't want to take up space, but now felt encouraged to speak. The Slack channel, once just memes and GIFs, became a place for real dialogue. One post simply said, "Thanks to this campaign, I asked for a meeting to share my mental health struggles, and got support instead of judgment." That one hit me hardest. As the campaign wrapped, HR asked us to present a final retrospective. Mr. Reese opened the session with his usual grace. "May I share one last thought?" Everyone laughed. He smiled. Then he gestured to me. I stood and cleared my throat. "When this all began, I thought I had made a mistake that might cost me my job," I said. "But I learned that sometimes, a moment of immaturity, if met with grace and accountability, can become the starting point for something far more meaningful." I looked at Mr. Reese. "Thank you," I said, sincerely. "For showing us all that kindness isn't passive. It's active. Intentional. And often the bravest kind of leadership there is." He nodded, eyes kind. "And thank you for turning a joke into a journey." After the meeting, the office felt different. Lighter. Closer. People didn't just laugh at the old meme anymore, they quoted it like a badge of honor. Reese himself printed it, framed it, and hung it above his desk with a little post-it under it that read, "Permission? Always." A few weeks later, I got a message from Maya, the intern who'd helped spark this whole thing. She'd landed a full-time position in the company's culture and engagement team. "Couldn't have done it without you," she wrote. "You showed me that owning your voice, even when it trembles, is worth it." I smiled, reading that message on my lunch break, sitting near the big windows overlooking the city. The skyline shimmered in the afternoon light, like it had quietly cheered us on through all of this. I thought back to the beginning, that photo, that caption, that moment of doubt, and I realized something. I had asked for nothing. But I had been given everything: forgiveness, growth, trust, and a second chance.